Hello, hello, and welcome to day 8 of the Fearless 30 Challenge, a challenge that was launched to help people to come out and share more valuably, vulnerably, and to be more visible about things that they are really passionate about and opinions they'd like to share or changes they'd like to see in the world. And I've decided to participate in this challenge. And initially, when I set out on this challenge, I really had this intention, like I'm going to do it consecutively for 30 days. And then life happened, and I realized that when we are on a conscious path, it's no longer about just pushing through. It's no longer about ticking boxes. It's really about going with my natural energy and flow and showing up when things are really in alignment, when my energy is in alignment. So about 2 weeks ago, I did something called family constellation. And it is a modality that helps us to heal some trauma through the ancestral lines. And mine was particularly interesting. This was not the first time I did it, but it was a little different in that we actually decided not to focus as much on the diagnostic side of it, rather to give me tools to move forward. As I've mentioned in some of my previous videos, I've gone through some huge life changes in the last year. And some of that was getting me stuck a little bit in my head. I've got a very analytical mind. And so just like analyzing over and over and not being able to actually see a clear way forward. So I knew I couldn't go back, and I also felt like I couldn't go forward. Even though I am moving forward, life is carrying on. It was about like, how can I get the tools? And that had a huge energetic shift because there was some stuff that came down my ancestral lines that was holding me back from moving forward, because there was a lot of guilt around, well, this is what life is supposed to be like as a woman, as a mother, as a wife. There were certain expectations of what we are supposed to be in this lifetime and how we're supposed to express it. And I was going against some of those things by being different in the way that I approach, and just purely because of circumstances, how life had worked out for me. And so to work through all of that stuff, abandonment, rejection, betrayal, and all of those things, and then seeing, okay, this is what we came here to have as a human experience. And so for those whole 2 weeks, I was literally not able to show up and be visible because I would not have been as valuable, and it was too raw. And sometimes that's important for us to understand when we are going through, when we're shifting and healing. I love using the analogy of when I go to the chiropractor. It is like, obviously, as we move and we go about life, then we start getting a little bit out of alignment, and some muscles and even some joints and sometimes even some bones start to compensate. And if we don't realign them, then your body sort of gets used to that. But then there's a lot of pain and discomfort that comes with that. And I'm training for Everest Base Camp, and so I'm aggravating a little bit of that compensation. And so when I go to the chiropractor, it's always like such a good alignment. He clicks everything back into place. But then it actually feels weird because for such a long time I've been out of alignment, that being in alignment can actually be very uncomfortable and sometimes even a little painful. And so that's what happens when we do it on the energetic level as well, when we shift and heal some of those old patterns where we were stuck in the narrative, stuck in the actions, stuck in the beliefs, stuck in the way that we talk about it and live it out in our reality. Then it can be a little painful when some of those things come to the surface and we start switching them up and changing, because like sometimes it's easier to stay in the known than it is to step into this unknown of being different, because even if the known is really painful, at least we know how to navigate it. Even though it's not bringing us the results, the desires that our hearts desires, it is just the known. So it's safer. We think it's safer, but it's actually painful. It's actually not moving us forward in the direction that we want to go. And so that has been a big shift for me in these past 2 weeks, has been releasing some of that old narrative and saying, but like the old part of me wants to kick against and say, but I don't want this. I didn't want that to happen. And I don't want this to look in a certain way. And then settling into it, really sitting with those feelings, working them through, allowing them to filter through, and then getting to a point where I actually had to start doing some body work because I was so stuck in my mind that I had analyzed this thing to death from all the different perspectives and my life, and I'd gone into my past and all of my previous experiences and projecting all of these things that's going to happen in the future. And so eventually realizing that's a big part of this is actually getting into my body, is getting out of the mind and sitting with the emotions, sitting with the feelings. We have in our heart space something called sensory neurites. It's over 40,000 brain-like cells with its own technology that can experience so powerfully what is happening around us, so energy and emotions. And that actually informs the brain. So if we can synchronize the brain and the heart, we can start to attract different experiences into our lives. And so today's prompt is really about who is my ideal client. And in my mindset and empowerment coaching business, this is what I help people with, is I help you to identify some of those patterns, some of those narratives where you've been stuck. And I holistically look at your business and we identify what part of it needs addressing. So my wheelhouse is coming out of the strategy and structure environment. I was in the corporate industry for more than 20 years, dealing with in the business and finance world, dealing with a lot of entrepreneurs from various different, mostly in service-based businesses. So I've worked the past 5 years with international clients in all kinds of different countries, in the UK and Europe, in Australia and New Zealand. Where did I have? Italy was one of my my favorite clients, was living there. So I've worked with people all around the world. Hawaii is also coming up now. I've worked with people all around the world in these different service-based businesses. Mostly I tend to work with coaches, someone who is in some sort of healing or transformational capacity where they're mentoring or advising or coaching someone, whether it's business, whether it's personal development, whether it's health, whether it's money. I've actually worked with money coaches and life coaches. I work a lot with life coaches, and coming out of my corporate background, with a lot with financial planners. And so dealing with all of them on all of these different levels and saying, okay, I come with the strategy and structure side because that was my wheelhouse when I was in corporate. And for the past 5 years, I've been diving into the mindset, into the personal development side. And that's become a bigger part of the coaching that I do. And the reason for that is because I've realized that we can tick the boxes. We can go through the actual strategy and structure steps. But there's a certain energy element around what we are supposed to be doing as an individual. And so typically I find myself working mostly with women. I do work with men as well, especially in the financial space, but mostly with women in the online coaching, healing, facilitating, sort of in that field, consulting field. It's mostly women who are very driven, extremely creative, highly intelligent, and has had some really, really good success in the past. So whether it's been, I sometimes find myself mostly actually with women who have multiple businesses or who has run multiple businesses at some point in time. So whether it was corporate with a side hustle or whether it is multiple businesses. I myself have run 3 different businesses as an entrepreneur at the same time. One was a brain training business, which I found fascinating because it was really learning about people's neural pathways and retraining them using neurofeedback. It was really amazing and very rewarding work. And then obviously my local fiduciary business, which is the area I came from in the corporate field where I was dealing with wills and trusts and doing holistic estate planning for people. So really bringing together all of their affairs, their business structures, their personal things, and doing that planning out for these families. And then the online coaching business, which has sort of undulated between business coaching and life coaching. And I really do find that there's a mix in the middle that is required, because what can sometimes get lost when we just get focused on the business stuff is we miss this personal aspect of what is really important for us to understand about ourselves. Because if we are entrepreneurs, we are the business. Our mindset, the way we view life, the way we show up, the energy that we have for our business, that affects how the business runs. And sadly, when we look at the stats of how many businesses fail, most of it is because of burnout by the actual business owner. So you're not able to stay on top of all the moving parts. You're not able to stay in expansion mode. Maybe you've been doing the same thing over and over and you're just not able to get a different result. So usually, because in the past that worked, you try and recreate that, but it's just no longer working. That old formula is no longer working. And the reason is because you're probably evolving as a human being. You're evolving as a spiritual being where you want to bring more of your natural gifts and talents and abilities into the world. So you know you've got a deeper soul calling. then you want to bring some of that transformational work into the world. And I've been specializing in the online field for over 5 years now. So helping these entrepreneurs to really launch and grow their businesses in the online space, because I feel like that's how we can reach this broader market. And a lot of my clients want that. They want to reach more people. They have this amazing gift to share. So a really strong modality, something that brings about huge change and transformation in the world. Whether it's, like I said, through personal development, through money, through business structuring, a lot of healing. I've got a lot of healers who can do an incredible shift in healing people's energy, physical bodies, even emotions, money, all of these different areas, that relationships and parenting. I've worked with parenting coaches where they really have this incredibly important service that they can offer the world, and they don't know how to reach that broader audience. Now, a little caveat here, I'm not a specialist in marketing, even though I've done a lot of that learning in my own business. So I've gone through the Facebook ads and the LinkedIn strategies and the email list building. I've done various, I think about 5 online summits, international summits, where I hosted these incredible speakers and built an email list, and I have some really cool tips and tricks around that, but it's really not my wheelhouse. It's not the area where I shine most. Where I shine most is, you've probably got all the pieces, you might not even realize it, but you're not getting the results you got before, because firstly, you're not showing up in your authentic energy, or you're not bringing enough of the masculine and the feminine together. So you're not bringing enough of the action taking, which must be inspired by the right energy, and that personal belief, the giving yourself the permission to show up in your power. And so I love helping people to activate their inner, that personal power, and showing up in the fullness, in the authenticity of who they are, and really healing some of that underlying things that may be holding them back, like the visibility piece, which has been a resistance for me for a long time, is actually showing up visibly and being consistent. And now I'm rather being real and saying, I am being visible, I am showing up consistently, and life is going to happen. So for a whole week, I did not post this video. I didn't create it because the energy wasn't there. And rather than just my old energy would have just like pushed through, I said, no, I'm going to take this time off. I'm going to let this healing settle, because I've got a stronger message at the end of that. And I'm a lot more clear. Like, for example, in the past, I just had a human design reading done for myself again. Like, every time there's deeper and deeper insights. It's one of my favorite modalities for getting to know ourselves and our potential. And so one of the things that came out is that I'm actually not an accountability coach, which is so interesting, because I've actually been hired as an accountability coach in the past. And I always put myself out there, someone who keeps you accountable to get your things done. What I've actually found, when I reflect back on the type of woman that I have in my world and that I tend to attract and in my circles, it's women who are self-driven. They don't need someone to check up on them. They just need someone as a soundboard to check, is this working? Is it working what I like, the ideas that I have? What do I do them? Where do I put them into a structure? Help me to structure them. Is it in alignment where my energy is at the moment? Am I voicing this out? I'm pretty good with language to help people to put it into language in a way that makes sense. That's a little bit clearer in terms of what they are putting together. And this is the interesting thing, because we can't always do that for ourselves. So even I struggle to say, like, this is exactly what it is that I'm doing. And that's why this series, this Fearless City challenge has been really helpful, because it gives us these specific prompts to work with and say, okay, now we talk about this and now we talk about that. And so in terms of ideal client, the person that's the perfect fit for me is somebody who has that drive to empower themselves, to better themselves, to move to the next level, to up level, to be more conscious, to bring more of their gifts and talents into the world, and to structure that in a way that really works for who they are, rather than all these programs and coaches that tell you, like, here's the formula, just take these steps. These are the rules of business and these are the rules of marketing. Let's find out what your rules are, who you are and how you work. And part of that, it has brought about so much shifts in my life. I'm busy selling my local business so that I can focus more on this. I will still be doing some of that work offline, but now in a way that really is life-giving to me and inspires me and feels good. Versus in the past, it's just like, oh, well, this is what I can do. This is what I'm good at. The business just keeps rolling and I better just do it. No. We've stopped that energy, and the universe actually created scenarios where that stopped working in very many different ways. And part of that is around my health and energy as well. And so if that's the kind of person that you are, that you have this incredible gift that you want to share with the world, you want to bring about this positive transformation, you want to help and guide others, and you need to you want to know what's working and what's not. You want somebody to holistically look at your business and say, it's this element that's out of alignment, or that element that we can, like, let's look at money or energy leaks, and let's see where we can create more effectiveness or efficiencies. And also, where can we empower you from within so that you can show up as your authentic self, so that you can create a life that feels more in flow and actually gives you the tangible results as well. Because we don't just want to live in this constant loop of modality after modality, course after course, coach after coach, all the theory, and not be able to put that into practice, because it's only through putting into practice. And sometimes that takes a bit of time. So a lot of my clients get the most value when they've worked with me for quite some time. So anything from a couple of months to a year, when I can start to clearly see those patterns play out, because we're very good at fooling ourselves, at saying, well, look, this is working, I'm just going to repeat that. And we put on a nice little song and dance initially. And even for coaches, like, we can put on a certain picture. And so my gift is to see beneath the veneer, and I need to listen a little bit more to what you're saying and how you're going about, and see how you're doing your things. And then I'm able to start seeing and connecting those dots for you, and being able to see that those are the patterns, and then gently and softly and supportively help you to shift those into a level that starts to create positive change, where you start to move forward. And like I said, sometimes it's like the chiropractor. It's not that comfortable, but it actually shifts the needle, and it actually starts to create what it is that you truly desire in your life. And so we sometimes want to, and in brain training, we used to have this analogy that we would show that we would train the brain into this new neural pathway. And once the training is complete, the brain does this little dance where it's like, it's been used to standing on one leg for so long, and now we're teaching it to stand on two legs. And so it goes back and it tests the one leg again, and then comes back to the two legs, one leg, two legs, and eventually decides, okay, the two legs are like, this is steady, I can go, I can be like this. And this is a little bit like what our healing process is. We go a little bit back into the old patterns, we test out some old ways of thinking, of being, of speaking, and then we try the new way. And as if we have that support and that container where we have someone who can reflect back to us, I see this is where you are in the process, just keep going. Or, hey, you've gone off into the bushes. And sometimes it's important to take the scenic route, and we can come back and just can gently guide you back and say, okay, let me just reflect back to you what's happening here, because we have the answers within ourselves, we have the strength within ourselves. And sometimes it just takes someone to help reflect that back, so that we can start trusting ourselves again, because we've been so conditioned and we've been so imprinted, whether it's just simply in our genetics. There's so much science around the genetic imprinting and conditioning that we've gotten through our ancestral lines. It's physically sitting in our DNA. It's just simply your makeup. It's not your fault. You didn't do anything. But then it's obviously your learned behavior from your environment, things that you heard from when you were a child. For me, it was not like I'm able to tune into energy and know whether something is real or not, whether something is true or not, for myself and for others. But since I was a little girl, when I would voice that, when I would say, like, there's something off here, I would get feedback. No, that's not true. And so I lost confidence in my ability to read that energy. And so now I'm relearning to trust that energy, that when I know something's off, when I know something's going on, I just have this incredible intuitive sense to know. And I know what I need to know when I need to know it. And even though people try and hide the truth from me, or try and spin situations, or manipulate the way the narrative comes out, I know what the real story is. And a part of me, as part of my defense mechanism, used to then attack people with that, use that as an ammunition against them, like to say, well, I know there's something going on, and then go and really, like, handle it in a terrible way. And especially from an emotional point of view. So I would emotionally really fall apart, because I just had all these conflicting energies and opinions and things happening, messages, like energetic messages happening at the same time. And I couldn't deal with it because it's not a rational, logical thing. And that's also a good thing because I've trained myself to be so in my head, which is not where my power, where my gifts lie. My gifts lie in my heart space, lies in my energy, in my intuitive sense. And coupled with my analytical, amazing, intelligent mind, which can interpret these messages and put them in context, organize them, and put them out into the world in a way that is supportive both for myself and others, is where the gift lies. Where before it was just like, blah, just coming out all in one big splash. And then it's just all over the place, and everybody's like rattled by it, versus, okay, I see the situation, I can interpret it with my mind, I feel, I sense the energy, I can interpret it, and I can then bring it out into a way that is supportive, that is expansive, that is loving and growthful for all the parties involved. So if that's who you are, that's someone that if you have this intelligence, this drive, this passion, and all of these pieces that you know have worked in the past, and this gift that you want to share with the world, or maybe you just want to know a little bit more about what that gift is and how to hone that in and increase that intuitive skill that you have, and use all the elements, because there's a place for the mind, there's a place for the emotions, there's a place for the strategy, there's a place for the structure, there's a place for all of these different elements, for all these resources that we have to come together and to create sustainable forward movement for everybody. If that's you, I'd love to chat to you. I'm going to put it in the link in the comments below. You can schedule a complimentary coffee or tea chat with me. I'm a tea girl. I prefer tea over coffee. Mainly because my liver doesn't do well with caffeine for some reason. It decided that I've actually always been sensitive. I never knew it. I used to be a big coffee drinker. And now I'm into my herbal tea. So if you open my cupboards, you're going to see like a million different herbal teas. So if you'd like to have a coffee or a tea chat, that's complimentary. Let's chat a little bit about where you are and what elements you feel are missing, or what pieces you would like to bring together, so we can put it into a structure and a strategy, along with that personal empowerment and mindset work, so that your mind's in the right place, so that it's sustainable for you to continue to move forward, to continue to expand. Because sometimes we can be really scared of these positive changes. And it's a little bit of PTSD, because in the past I got so excited and then I got burnt. So now, every time I think about growth or a different strategy, like, oh, I want to just like hold back a little bit. So let's work on that. Let's help you to identify where the potential block may be, or just simply like, what does the vision of the future look like, and how we can plan that and put that out into the world. Thank you for joining me today. Have an amazing day, and I will see you again for day 9, I think is the next one of the Fearless City Challenge. Bye for now.